when Americans travel abroad, they're more social, more happy, more outgoing. When they're in America, it's like, 9 to 5.
Yeah. Okay. 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 It's nice.
What would you say about like dating American women versus dating somebody abroad? What would be the main differences that you've noticed, and like what would be like maybe or difficulties or maybe actually why what is it easier for you? Like what's your experience?
That's a very, very good question. Because I can tackle it. I don't even know where to start with it. But first off, let me start off by saying this. So I'm not going to bash anybody here. You know, I'm not going to say that one's better than the other, or American women are terrible, or Brazilian women, Turkish women, Spanish women are terrible. No, I'm not going to bash nobody because all women were created equal. All women are amazing. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say American women suck. Right. But what I will say is this: I'm going to talk more about the culture because I think the cultures is what really dictates how people act. So in America, we have a very closed, isolated culture, as you know. You lived in America.
Mm-hmm.
So in New York City, do when you're walking around, does anyone look at you when you're walking around?
Nobody
I know it sounds like a
cares.
silly question. Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares because it's a very isolated, closed off culture. Everyone's too busy. Everyone's on the go. They don't care about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're too busy thinking about, okay, I'm gonna get Starbucks and I gotta go to work and then I gotta go to a meeting and then everyone's always in a rush. They're so tired and exhausted. There's also a lot of people that don't have they don't socialize as much in America. And this isn't just women, this is people. I'm generally speaking. You go into an elevator and what is people doing? They're on their phones.
Yeah.
They're on their phones the entire time. They're not even looking at anybody.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid social awkwardness. Because people don't socialize that much in America. In America, you can go a whole day without having any social interaction. You can order Uber Eats to your home. So if you're hungry, you can order Uber Eats. You could go to an Uber and not have to talk to anybody because a lot of these drivers aren't trying to talk to you anyways. You go on Uber, take you from point A to point B, don't talk to anybody. Everyone works
it's very
remote
lonely
now.
place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Very lonely. It's like isolating you even more because it looks like so many people, but you actually feel so much more lonely than in any other place because everybody is so busy and just nobody cares. And I definitely felt it many times in New York.
So I'm not the crazy one though. I'm saying these things. I think non-American people that have never lived in America think, why? That's not true. How can that? Because when Americans travel abroad, they're a whole different beast.
Yeah.
I've noticed when Americans travel abroad, they're more social, more happy, more outgoing. When they're in America, it's like 9 to 5. Everyone's bored and exhausted, and they don't want to talk to you. And if you talk to someone, they look at you crazy. Like, why do you talk to me for? In America, another fun fact about America is in America, we say, how are you doing as another way to say hello, if that makes any sense. So sometimes a lot of Americans will be like, oh, how you doing? How's your day going? And nobody answers that. They'll just keep it moving. That's like another way of saying hello in America. How you doing? And then
nobody replies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody replies. But if you say that in a different country, it's a different story. But that leads me into other countries. So when I went to Brazil, the complete opposite. Brazil was like night and day. Brazil was like people were trying to talk to you. I went in the elevator, guess what happened? People are like, oh, você é português, você é brasileiro. No, soy gringo. I'm basically, I'm American, gringo. It's the complete opposite. I started getting culture shock because I'm not used to that. I'm used to people being on their phones, not trying to talk to you. But in Brazil, it doesn't work that way. Everyone's trying to talk
nice
to
to you. People are actually nice to you in Brazil. I was so shocked. I was like, why they are smiling? Why they like I was confused because I'm so used to like nobody cares. Everybody's like, okay, next. What do you want? Like, everybody's like
exactly that
edge.
American mindset.
Yeah, and there you coming and they're like, hey, hola, like, how are you? And this and that. So this is so, it's shocking because you're not used to that.
Exactly. As an American going outside, you're like, well, like people actually want to talk to me. They're actually nice to me. And I think that they're not in America, but it's a completely different culture. And that leads me to dating. I just wanted to talk about the culture first and then get into the dating because I feel like dating is heavily impacted by the culture of that country. So, like, for example, in America, because everyone's so closed off and so busy all the time and they're not trying to talk. It's much more difficult, in my opinion, to date in America because of that. A lot of people want to say, oh, it's the women that make it tough, it's the men that make it tough, but it's the culture at the end of the day. If we
Yeah.
can change the culture in America, which is very difficult at this point, then we can change the dating. It all trickles down. It's all a domino effect. That's why dating is the way it is in America. Like nobody wants to meet each other anymore in person. Nobody really goes out clubbing like that anymore here. Everyone goes on Tinder, swipe, swipe, swipe. In a place like Brazil, it's a lot more easier to meet
Yeah.
people. All you need to do is go outside, go in the elevator, and bam. Hey,
Yeah.
how you doing? Oh, da, da. And next thing you know, you made a whole friend right there.
You
You
just
know,
go on
and
the block. Mm-hmm.
yeah, just go down the block and you'll meet someone. You don't got to do much to meet people in Brazil, you know? So
Absolutely.
that's the major difference. People actually also what I've noticed in Brazil is that they actually approach you in Brazil. Like women do approach men in Brazil. They're much more
Yeah.
aggressive in Brazil. And this is without them even realizing that I'm American. Because that's another debate people will make is, oh, it's only easy in Brazil because you're American and you got a blue
Yeah.
passport and they want a
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
card. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the truth entirely, okay? There are certain people that do want that. And I would understand why. I get it. You want to come to America, you want opportunities. I'm not going to shame a woman that wants to do that. You know what I mean? Of course, just as long as they love the guy, right? If they love the guy, cool. There's no problem with that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not true that every single girl from a foreign country wants to come to America or wants to live here. Because I talked to a lot of girls in Brazil that they don't want to come to America. They want to stay in Brazil because of their family. They're family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the major difference is girls actually approach you in
That's a
Brazil. Like if they like how
big
you look,
difference.
big
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Yeah.
Because in America, not saying that they don't do that here, but girls over here are, I feel like just not even girls, just the culture that we have is all about, oh, like if I show emotion, I'm weak. That's the type of culture
Mm-hmm.
that we have here in America. In Brazil, emotion isn't weakness, emotion is strength. So
Yeah.
they're gonna show you that they're interested in you. They're gonna show you that they care about you. And that's something that I hope one day can happen in America where the culture changes for the better and we can start having more people come together and unified. Enough of this hate between men and women. We're meant to be with each other. We're meant to be together. And in
Yeah.
Brazil, it's like that where they have that understanding of men and women are to be together, right? Or whatever
Wow.
you're into, right? For my
And
LGBTQ
you've been
community.
approached personally?
Yes.
Women came up to, and that's cool.
Three times
Mm-hmm.
actually, three times.
Oh my
So
God,
so
not even once.
so
Okay, all guys over there, like who is listening? I'm just
so
kidding. Just
So,
go to Brazil.
that's the thing though is that sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I'm gonna tell you the time that it didn't work, and this is a
Okay.
negative side. I guess maybe it's a negative side about Brazil, as and it, like I said, it could be a pro, it could be a con for anybody. But I was walking down Copacabana, and basically there was it was just me and my friend. It was two of us walking down Copacabana. First day, by the way, first day of us being there. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. Nothing, right? We're walking. There was this group of three girls that came up to us. I guess they overheard us speaking English,
Mhm.
and they started talking to us in a little bit of English. This girl approached me, kissed me in the cheek, and started like hugging me and stuff, almost like she knew who I was. And I
Wow.
thought she was cute, so I didn't say anything about it. I was like, oh, okay.
You just roll with it. Okay.
But supposedly in Brazil, like Brazilian women or just Brazil in general, they're very affectionate. So it isn't weird for them to come up to you and kiss you in Brazil. But besides the point, so she gave me her WhatsApp. I took it down, and then when I got home, I texted her, and this is where it gets a little crazy. I texted her. She texted me back, and she was like, "Oh, just letting you know, I'm a working woman. Here are my rates." And I was like,
Uh,
"What?" I was like, no. So guys, just
wow.
be a little bit careful with that. If that's something that you're against, then be very careful with it, guys. Like just because a woman approaches you doesn't always mean that they're a regular woman, quote unquote. Sometimes it could be, the working woman. So be careful with that. Not discriminating against those women, it is what it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, that's one thing about Brazil and the dating culture down there is that there are a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some working women there in Brazil.
Hmm.
But that would be my
But
major difference.
that would happen in US as well. For example, like in a nightclub, if you go, like oftentimes if a woman approach a guy, it will be this case, like working
Yeah.
woman. And
The
I don't
only
know, have you experienced it in the bar or? or in
So
US?
the topic of working women, I think it's a very extremely fascinating conversation because I've never been exposed to that before up until I went to Brazil. So with working women, in terms of America, it can happen in America, especially in a place like Las Vegas, but it's illegal for the most of the country. In a place like Brazil, it's completely legal. It's allowed. It can happen.
It's legal. Legal.
It's legal.
Yeah.
It's legal.
Yeah.
So it can happen. As long as they're of age, it's legal. Anything goes in Brazil. So it's completely normalized over there in Brazil, which is a culture shock that I experienced. I didn't think that was normalized over there. I didn't even know it was legal until that girl did what she did to me that night. And so a lot of Brazilian men or foreigners partake in that type of a lifestyle. Now, me personally, I wasn't really about that. I'd rather meet a regular woman. But I would say this. So I'm the type of guy, I prefer a regular woman because I prefer regular, true companionship.
You want a connection. You want like something real. Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing against that. Like sometimes, as long as it's transparent and honest, as you said, like you want to be honest. That's what you want. And like I feel like it would be fair to be very honest about that too. This is the deal. This is the rate. Like open. And there is nothing bad with that, as long as you're not hiding it and not trying like cover up with something like, oh, I really like you, or like, you know, like if you don't give like mixed emotions.
So that happened to me twice actually in Brazil, but the other times it was regular women that approached me and my friend that they hear us, they just see us and they're like, oh, these guys look interesting, like, let's approach them. And I speak a little Portuguese. Well, at that time I spoke a little bit, so I could communicate with them. But I really love Brazilian women. I will say that I do have a preference that I prefer a Brazilian woman over, let's just say, an American woman because of the culture. Not because one looks better than the other or because one's better than the other, but more for the culture. Brazilian women are warm, they're bubbly, they're social, they're passionate, they're affectionate, and that's what I want in a woman. Not saying you can't find that in America. However, in America, it will take some time to find something like that because everyone's so busy and caught up in their own lives that they don't have time to be affectionate or passionate. You know, so that's the disadvantage in America is everyone's too busy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a culture
thing. That's really interesting.
The next question is, look at me, where she gonna be? Call me Ricky T.